saying that ladies and gentlemen, welcome to today's episode. Once I rose above the noise and confusion, just to get a look beyond this illusion. I was soaring ever higher. Then I flew too high. Terry, cut the fucking shit. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to 7 Minutes in Heaven. Carry on my wayward son. There'll be peace when you are done. Lay your weary head to rest. Don't you cry no more. Oh, no. Cut the shit. I said don't put it back on, sir. Listen. One of the dopest songs of all time. Okay, we just had to hit it hot and getting weird on a Wednesday. All right, ladies and gentlemen, listen. That song, it doesn't even make sense. It's like 4 different songs put into one, where it's just like all of a sudden just a guitar change, like everything just, it doesn't all add up. But you know what it does? It makes one of the greatest goddamn songs of all time. Carry on, my wayward son. Kansas in the house. Sorry, we can adjust this. All right, we're back, ladies and gentlemen. One of my favorite songs, okay, made popular to me, just a classic rock, and also the show Supernatural. It's a guilty pleasure, okay? That's one of those shows that I was a huge fan of. It's a big commitment to have watched that entire series almost twice, okay? Because growing up, I watched it, and I got well over 3/4 of the way through it, and they were still airing the show, and then I go, I can't do it anymore. I'm out. It's just too much of a commitment. Then I decided during the pandemic, bring it back around, and I finished the series. You know, it took me well over a year to finish that series of just watching it randomly on Netflix at night, you know. Anyway, we're not here to talk about Supernatural. What we're here to talk about is 7 Minutes in Heaven, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to it. A comedy, philosophical podcast. He's now a philosophizer. Okay? I have a hard time deciding what this podcast is. I just fucking ain't nothing to it but to do it, ladies and gentlemen. And I'm just happy that you guys show up week after week, episode after episode, wanting the goods. Wanting the goods from your boy. All right, ladies and gentlemen. It's good. It's good to be here. Life has been well. Stand-up is going good. Had a great set last night. Listen. Let's go ahead and back that up. When I say a great set, I accomplished what I wanted to do in the set. I wanted to get these points, do these new tags. I don't mean, I fucking killed. No, that is not what clarifies a great set to me. Because listen, no matter what kind of set I do, I'm still laying in bed at 12:30 a.m. and going, I fucked up that part of the joke. Why did I decide to riff on something a previous comedian said when I had no punchline to it? Sometimes riffing and just, improv on stage, you're saying something's coming out of my mouth, giggity, that I don't even know where the next sentence is going to go. I'm just hoping I stick the landing. Okay? It's like jumping out of a plane and being like, let me just build a fucking parachute. That's what happens sometimes. That's what happens with this podcast. There's times where I don't even have bullet notes for what I want to talk about, current events to fall upon if the cast gets a little dry, you know? Sometimes I just go, we're going to build this fucking plane while we're falling out of another one. Ladies and gentlemen, okay? When I randomly just say, I love you guys and thank you, your boy's thinking. That's how we're getting the sausage made. I love you guys. Anyway, there was something. This is something that happens a lot on this podcast where we talk about, I'll be honest with you guys, we do live in crazy times, but we live in crazy times compared to this time. I've been reading Meditations by Marcus Aurelius, and they are like the journal entries of Marcus Aurelius, deemed in history the greatest Roman Empire. Some crazy shit. There's like mind fucks within mind fucks of even the idea of history. And one of them is how disciplined these dudes were for like the year 150. That's all it was. Oh, what year is it? 150. Oh, we just started counting that shit not too long ago. There was he's one of the 5 great emperors. The Empire Strikes Back. Okay, that's what it's based off of. One of the 5 great empires. Is your Fremanip fan yet? We're going to rewind that back. Use take 2. Terry. Terry's my imaginary sound guy that I've created, if you haven't caught on. Marcus Aurelius is one of the 5 great emperors of Rome, who just so happened to be, none of them had heirs. All the greatest emperors all came, giggity, from their fathers weren't emperors. Which is kind of crazy because it shows, and there's always these balances. It's a great balance of life, which is crazy and shows you how important balance really is. You get too fucking far on one side and it's going to be, crazy. It's going to be crazy. That's why Yoda is the genius. Yoda has the greatest bar of all time. Shout out to baby Yoda right here in the podcast. Balance. Everything with the Force, everything that Yoda talks about is about balance. He must have good and evil. He must have light and dark. Everything in life is that. If you're too Republican, you're going to have some problems. If you're too Democratic, you're going to have some problems. You just got to find a balance because life is balanced. And it's interesting when you look back on emperors and who was good at this and who was good at that. And it's when you always see, there's that quote, I'll say ad nauseum, dude. I've heard it on Joe Rogan's podcast a bajillion times. It's hard for the son of a great man to be great. And which I don't necessarily think it's true. Depending on what your value of great is. In the sense of, in the same arena, like when you see, someone like Mike Tyson, whose son wants to be a boxer. Mike Tyson was like, dude, you're never gonna, no, because you came up soft. You had a chef in the home. You're gonna fight someone like me, who was a monster, like just where that kid had to come from. And especially in boxing, that's like a pretty common one, is you see they don't have a grit or something they can grab onto because they don't need to do this. It's something that you always see with fighting is whenever there's another option and they don't need to do this and it's not completely in them, you see on average, I'm not saying there's no exceptions. Anderson Silva's son is seeming like he's going to be a badass and I'm here for it. I supported your father through his career. I'll be here for yours. But in that kind of sense. And when you see in emperor or someone like that in history, you see the sons are usually spoiled brats. They don't ever get disciplined. They don't ever get taught that that they can be told no. They can literally, you look at ancient times, dude, kids would feed their servants to dogs if they just didn't like them. You bullshitting today? All right, Frank, I'm putting some fucking Frank's hot sauce on you and I'm feeding you to Pity. It's the name of the pit bull. But that would really happen. Like where you have these kids that are just, and they grow up to be terrible leaders and dictators. And you end up getting North Korea because these people who have like no empathy and literally think they are born different. That's why royalty is so fucking weird. But I've been thinking about this a lot in general because when you start seeing a lot of virtue signaling, and you start seeing ideas that, I'm not going to get political on this. I didn't even plan on really talking about this, like Marxism. And you start seeing like these ideas and like socialist ideas, they're veiled in an idea of equality and inclusion. When you start seeing people who have actually faced, coming from socialist countries and communism, you start seeing those people's reaction to that. Even if they're young people, they're like, no, you don't want that. No. You don't want that because you've never experienced it. I've experienced it. We don't want that. It's the same thing with the whole defund the police thing. It's like those are happening in people who never actually needed the police. Crime goes up whenever you defund the police in the places that need protection the most. Like, it's crazy statistics. That's not to say, and that's to say that the answer is not that simple. This is where I do get annoyed at a lot of people who have these, like, protest ideas of defund the police and certain things. I'm like, yeah, there needs to be a fix. We need to fix something, but the answer isn't defund. The answer isn't we remove this, because the what happens next isn't logical. And all the places they defunded the police, crime skyrocketed, property value plunged. You didn't think that was going to happen, and it's like, you need this, and it's a harder question to have to face than just defund the police. Get rid of them. No, and this is life. You have to actually try to fix this. And I think it comes from a place of not experiencing that, of experiencing a world where you see the importance of these things. I don't know. Why did we get down that topic? It all comes back to the whole balance thing. And I don't know. We're in a weird place as a country. I was looking before at this. It was a post, and it was breaking down what the cost of living was in 1970. And the cost of living was, I think, houses costed $25,000, cars were like $2,500, and annual salaries were like $10,000. So it was like this crazy thing. One of the things that stood out to me was that bacon costed 86 cents a pound. Hey, I'm fucking here for it. How do we get those 1970 prices back? It's weird because all the old people, this is who we really should be going after. They had their time in the sun. We should just go, nah, we're in charge now. That's where it really, like, all this corruption and things that happen and all this crazy, I just turned this into a eat the rich speech. You just realize that's me. I'm a whole eat the rich guy. It's greed. It's greed. Like, all of this stuff and making all these decisions. Literally, what's crazy about the government, and I'm going to get off of this because I'm not here to talk about this. Not that kind of podcast. It was supposed to be a comedy podcast. But sometimes you just got to keep it real. The government and, like, the spending and everything it does, it's like a kid with a credit card that they don't have to pay it. They're like, well, we'll fucking figure it out later. We need to count amberjacks, and they make up all these bills and everything. And then it's like, all these prices are slowly raising everywhere else where the cost of living, and then people are suffering. And then you're telling people it's going to be okay. Hey, the economy's doing great. Meanwhile, people, dude, it's costing me like $400 a month now to fill up my truck. Granted, yeah, what the fuck am I doing with the truck? It's Texas. I get it. But gas was $2.45 when I moved here. Okay? Pushing $4.70. Shit's wild. But it's just crazy. And the key to this is balance. We're in a weird swing where things were, I think during the 90s, things were easier financially, would you say? The 80s? I don't know, ladies and gentlemen. Let's get off of that. We'll go into another one. This current event. I hate seeing so much backlash towards Chris Pratt. Because out of all the Hollywood people, everything you hear, the stories, Chris Pratt seems like a great person. Okay? All around. He's religious, which is whatever. Like, all right, if you want to believe in fairy tales, you go for that. That's your provocative. That's fine. I'm actually not smart enough to know if there is anything. Listen, I'll tell you right now. It ain't Adam and Eve. There ain't no garden. I'll tell you that right now. It was a metaphor. Okay, maybe there's some religion. Maybe it's real spirituality. I'm all for it. We just aren't smart enough to figure it out. Okay. Hey, no one's ever died and came back from the other side. You know what I'm saying? They have that little kid who had that book come out, and he was like, I was from the afterlife. I was a pilot. I flew a plane. Yeah, I had 3 kids. Remember that little kid? There was like a little kid who claimed he died and he had a whole life. He was reincarnated. Fuck out of here, Tyler. What that little kid looked like. I don't know anything else about that story. But Chris Pratt, he married Arnold Schwarzenegger's daughter. Hey, tight move. Tight move. Getting in with the Terminator like that. You're like, oh, I want this kid to be a beast. I'm gonna just adapt to the greatest genetics ever. Arnold Schwarzenegger. It's a word you gotta be careful saying, you know. He had a baby with his wife, and this is why I can't with social media. He had a baby with his wife, and he goes, it is such a blessing, and I'm just happy, you know, and thankful to have a beautiful wife and a healthy baby. People took it as a jab at his ex-wife and the fact that his son had issues being born. His son had something, I think it was like a hemorrhage in his brain when he was born. I'm not exactly sure. I was looking at a little bit about it. But people are getting so upset by him just celebrating that he had a healthy baby. They just took to attacking him to the point where he said that he cried. Hey, Chris Pratt, don't read the comments. Okay, don't read the comments. You're not going to get anything good from it. Just keep fucking doing that scared look you do in Jurassic World and just keep doing your thing, baby. Keep it moving. It's weird. Twitter is weird. And you know what's weird about it is the media twists everything. It takes it and makes it seem like it takes fringe comments and rolls them into articles to make you think that this is what everybody's thinking. Like, this is what's going on. He's facing all this backlash. You literally can mold any ideas you want into an article. So you just look at, okay, what kind of articles get the biggest clicks? Okay, yeah, we're going to say this happened. Okay, yeah, we can actually get those comments off Twitter and we can put it into an article. There, we got it, ladies and gentlemen. We got him, Chris Pratt. Is Elon Musk still buying Twitter? Is that still a thing that's happening? Did we move on past that? I hope he does. It would be great to get Twitter back as a place where you could post things. I remember one of the last jokes that I posted on Twitter that went viral, kind of viral. It was stupid viral. I hate when people are like, I'm going viral. Stupid. I posted something about this lady, and this really happened. She was on the stairs machine, and she was wearing a wetsuit. And this person commented on this, and I said, yo, this lady at 24 Hour Fitness is wearing a wetsuit while she works out like she's training for the hardest SeaWorld trainer competition of all time. Something like that. And this girl was like, you know, if you didn't post stuff like this, women would feel more comfortable in the gym instead of having guys call them whales. I was like, you are so stupid. So stupid. Like I mentioned SeaWorld and the fact she was wearing a wetsuit. And she got out of that I was calling this girl a whale. You did that, M. Night Shyamalan, making your own little twist up in that story. Can't you just let me live? Okay, Shamu? I'm just kidding. Great. Now I'm fat shaming. Great. Dude, fat shaming works. Fat shaming works. I still have a joke that I always bring up with my fiance. My fiance is the sweetest human I've ever met. One time, back when your boy was still going out on auditions for stuff in LA and doing that whole grimy world, there was one for a boxing thing that I needed to send pictures in. I needed to send shirtless pictures in for this like sports thing. And it was like, I had to get in like boxing shorts and take these pictures. And we were taking these pictures at night. She was helping me. And it was like, I just had to send in these shirtless pictures so they could see like where my physique was at. And it was like at a time where I was like, I must have been in a lull health-wise. And I'm like not happy with it. I'm just like looking, I'm like, dude, am I not in shape right now? Like, cause I wasn't like my abs weren't defined and everything. And I was just like, man, I just wasn't feeling it. I probably was eating. She's looking at me, she goes, well, you have been eating a lot of chips. And I just started dying laughing. I still bring up that sentence whenever it's like anything gets brought up about the way I look. And I'm like, well, I have been eating a lot of chips. But it got me in line. I was like, you know what? I need to stop eating so many chips. And it helped, you know. Every now and then you just need someone to go, man, eating a lot of chips, huh? It works, ladies and gentlemen. Something that happened recently in Yellowstone. Is Yellowstone still going to blow up? I think that's supposed to happen, right? Volcano is supposed to erupt. If you don't know about the volcano in Yellowstone, if it blows, it pulls out, 70% of the country goes under? We need it. Lord knows we need it. We get inflation back down to the 1970s. Call back. This all ties in this episode about people not realizing what reality is. Like when people want to defund the police, when people want to do these things, that's like, there's no countermeasure to this. This isn't going to make sense. We keep wanting to spend all the stimulus money. We can't, there's literal things we have to worry about. This bison, in Yellowstone National Park, a bison gored a 25-year-old woman in Yellowstone National Park. First of all, what a sexist, cis male, toxic bison for gorging a 25-year-old woman at a time like this. How dare you, sir? How dare you? Okay. At the end of the day, though, that's equality, right? We start making women get gorged. Gorged. I don't know what gorged and engorged means. Getting gored by a bison just as much as guys do. The bison was walking near a boardwalk at Black Sand Basin, just north of Old Faithful. Don't need that information. When the woman approached it on a Monday, it was on a Monday, dude, you never mess with bisons on a Monday. According to a park statement, she got within 10 feet before the animal gored her and tossed her 10 feet in the air. The woman from Grove City, Ohio, sustained a puncture wound and other injuries. Where do people get off? I blame Disney and I blame Instagram. It has made people get way too comfortable with animals. Everybody thinks that they can just walk up to an animal and just put their hand on it, and it will just, they'll just be subdued. Okay. Shit's wild out there for a pimp. Shit's wild out there for a pimp. Dude, wild animals are crazy. Facts. Okay. We've just gotten too far out of the food chain to still respect them. But every time I see a zoo animal attack somebody, good. You crawl over the enclosure and you got your arm ripped off, good. Survival of the fittest. Welcome to idiocracy. That's where we're living, ladies and gentlemen. And listen, we really went into this episode. I feel like we were heated and we really talked about some real shit. But sometimes that's what you got to do, okay? We're just working through it. Ain't nothing to it but to do it. Ladies and gentlemen, this next episode, it's a short one today. This next episode, I believe we are going to have a guest. Don't quote me, but I believe we are. And it's going to be glorious, all right? Thank you for listening to this episode. If you haven't, like, comment, subscribe. It helps the podcast. I'm starting to put out more stuff on YouTube. If you go over to YouTube and subscribe to the channel, you'll see all new content. Subscribe, leave a review on iTunes. It helps me. And ladies and gentlemen, don't forget, no matter what, I still love you.